The blood moon hung like an omen in the midnight sky when Luna Ashworth pushed open the cabin door and found her world ending. Marcus was supposed to be waiting for her. Instead, he was tangled in silk sheets with her sister, their bodies moving in the ancient rhythm that should have been hers alone. Elena's golden hair spilled across the pillow like liquid sunlight, so different from Luna's dark waves, and her breathless moans filled the air where Luna's should have been. Marcus? The word escaped Luna's lips as barely a whisper. Two heads turned. Marcus's hazel eyes, the ones that had smiled at her every day since childhood, went wide with something that looked like relief rather than guilt. Elena simply smirked, making no move to cover herself. Luna. Marcus sat up slowly, and Luna caught the scent that had been driving her wild all week. The scent that meant he was her mate. Her destined partner. The other half of her soul. The scent that was now all over her sister. Get out, Luna. Elena's voice was honey-sweet with satisfaction. Can't you see we're busy? Luna's hands shook as she gripped the doorframe. Tonight was supposed to be everything. Her 18th birthday. The night she would officially claim her place as future Luna of the Crescent Pack. The night Marcus would finally acknowledge their mate bond and they would complete the ritual that would bind them forever. Instead, she was watching him choose her sister. How long? Luna's voice cracked like thin ice. Marcus had the decency to look away. Luna, I can explain. How long? This time her voice carried the authority of her bloodline, the power that would one day make her a pack leader. Both Marcus and Elena flinched. 3 months, Elena answered when Marcus remained silent. She stretched languidly, displaying herself like a prize. Right after the spring ceremony. When he realized what everyone else already knows. What's that supposed to mean? Elena's green eyes glittered with malice. That you're not strong enough for someone like Marcus. You never were. The words hit harder than any physical blow. Luna had spent her entire life preparing to lead, training alongside the strongest wolves in the pack, proving herself worthy of her heritage. Her father was Alpha. Her bloodline stretched back to the pack's founding. She was supposed to be unshakable. But standing there in the doorway, watching her mate and her sister, she felt like she was made of glass. The bond, Luna started, can be rejected. Marcus finally met her eyes, and the coldness there made her step back. I reject you, Luna Ashworth. You are not my mate. The formal words slammed into her like a physical force. Luna doubled over, gasping as the mate bond that had been singing in her blood suddenly felt like it was being ripped apart with rusty claws. The pain was unlike anything she'd ever imagined, deeper than bone, more consuming than fire. When she could breathe again, she straightened to find both of them watching her with expressions that ranged from pity to disgust. You're too weak, Marcus said, his voice almost gentle. Almost kind. Which somehow made it worse. I need a mate who can stand beside me as an equal. Someone strong enough to help me lead when your father steps down. Someone like me, Elena purred, running her fingers down Marcus's chest. Luna wanted to rage. Wanted to shift and tear them both apart. Wanted to challenge Elena to single combat and prove once and for all who was stronger. But the rejection had left her hollow, empty of everything except pain. Instead, she turned and ran. The pack house blazed with light when she stumbled down the forest path. The celebration was in full swing. Dozens of wolves from neighboring packs had come to witness her birthday ceremony, to see her officially presented as the future Luna. Music and laughter drifted through the windows, and Luna could smell the rich scent of the feast her mother had spent weeks planning. She couldn't face it. Couldn't walk in there and pretend her world hadn't just shattered. Couldn't smile and accept congratulations when she'd just been publicly rejected by her own mate. Luna. Her best friend Sarah's voice called from the front porch. There you are. Your parents are looking for. She stopped mid-sentence when she saw Luna's face. What happened? Marcus. The name tasted like ashes. We're not. Oh, honey. Sarah's arms came around her instantly, warm and solid and safe. What did he do? Before Luna could answer, the pack house doors burst open and Elena appeared, radiant in a crimson dress that matched the blood moon overhead. Marcus was right behind her, his arm wrapped possessively around her waist. The celebration noise died as wolves turned to stare. Luna watched in growing horror as Elena whispered something in Marcus's ear, saw him nod grimly, and then step forward to address the crowd. "I have an announcement," Marcus called out, his voice carrying easily across the suddenly silent gathering. "Tonight, under the blood moon, I claim Elena Ashworth as my mate." The gasps and murmurs that followed felt like a physical assault. Luna saw her parents push through the crowd, her father's face thunderous with rage, her mother's pale with shock and grief. "The mate bond between Luna and myself has been severed," Marcus continued, his eyes finding hers across the crowd. "She is not suitable to be my partner." The humiliation was complete. Every wolf in 5 packs now knew that Luna Ashworth, daughter of an alpha, born to rule, had been found wanting. Had been rejected. Had been deemed too weak by her own destined mate. She turned to flee again, but her father's hand landed on her shoulder. "No," Alpha Ashworth's voice cut through the night like a blade. "You will not run from this. You are my daughter, and no beta's whelp decides your worth." But before he could say more, a new scent hit the air. Dark. Dangerous. Unfamiliar. Every wolf in the clearing went still. Even Marcus stepped back from Elena, his head turning toward the tree line where shadows moved between ancient oaks. Then he stepped into the light. Luna had heard stories about Alpha Kai Blackthorn her entire life, but none of them had prepared her for the reality of him. He was tall, taller even than her father, with midnight black hair and eyes that seemed to hold all the secrets of the forest. His presence was like a physical weight, pressing down on every wolf present until even the strongest among them lowered their gazes. The alpha of the Shadow Pack. Their oldest enemy. Their most dangerous rival. And he was looking directly at Luna with an expression that made her pulse race for entirely new reasons. "I believe," Kai said, his voice carrying easily across the silent gathering, "you have something that belongs to me." Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. The silence stretched like a bowstring ready to snap. Luna felt every eye in the clearing fixed on her, but she couldn't look away from Kai Blackthorn. His dark gaze held her captive, and something deep in her chest, something that had nothing to do with the severed mate bond, began to pulse with recognition. "You're mistaken, Blackthorn." Her father's voice cut through the tension like a growl. "Nothing here belongs to the Shadow Pack." Kai's lips curved in what might have been a smile, but there was no warmth in it. "Is that so?" He took a step closer, and Luna caught his scent, pine and midnight air, wild storms and something indefinably dangerous. "Then perhaps you've forgotten what runs in your daughter's veins." Luna's breath caught. Her father went very still beside her. "What are you talking about?" Elena's shrill voice broke the moment. She was still pressed against Marcus, but her face had gone pale. "Luna's nothing special. She just proved that." Kai's attention shifted to Elena with the lazy interest of a predator sizing up prey. Did she? Or did she simply discover that her mate wasn't worthy of what she carries? The pain of the broken bond was still tearing through Luna's chest, but something else was stirring now. A warmth that seemed to pulse in rhythm with Kai's presence. She pressed her hand to her throat, confused by the sensation. "You have no business here," Marcus stepped forward, trying to reassert his authority. "This is Crescent Pack territory. And yet here I am." Kai's voice carried just enough menace to make Marcus retreat. "I come under the laws of sanctuary. Your Luna is in distress." "She's not Luna anymore," Elena snapped. "I am. Marcus chose me." Marcus, Kai said the name like it tasted foul, is a fool who wouldn't recognize true power if it bit him. His eyes returned to Luna. "But you're beginning to feel it, aren't you? The awakening?" Luna's heart hammered against her ribs. The warmth in her chest was spreading now, flowing down her arms and pooling in her fingertips. She looked down at her hands and gasped. They were glowing with a soft, silver light. "What?" she started, but her father cut her off. "Enough." Alpha Ashworth stepped between Luna and Kai, his own power radiating outward in waves. "Whatever game you're playing, it ends now. This isn't a game." Kai's voice dropped to something barely above a whisper, but every wolf present heard him clearly. "Your daughter carries the bloodline of the first Luna. The original magic that founded both our packs. Magic that was thought lost centuries ago." Luna stared at her glowing hands, her mind reeling. "That's impossible. The old magic died out before my grandmother was born." "Did it?" Kai took another step closer, ignoring her father's warning growl. "Or did your family simply forget how to recognize it? How to nurture it?" "You're lying," her mother's voice came from somewhere in the crowd, tight with fear and denial. "Am I?" Kai's gaze never left Luna's face. "Tell me, Luna Ashworth, have you been having dreams lately? Visions of wolves running under silver moonlight? Of ancient ceremonies in forgotten clearings?" Luna's blood turned to ice. She had been having those dreams, vivid, haunting visions that left her gasping awake in the pre-dawn hours. Dreams of wolves with silver eyes and voices that spoke in languages she didn't recognize but somehow understood. "I see you have." Kai's expression gentled, just slightly. "The magic recognizes the blood moon. It's why your power is manifesting tonight, of all nights." Even if that were true, her father's voice was deadly calm. "It changes nothing. Luna is my daughter, heir to this pack." "Is she?" Kai's attention shifted to Marcus and Elena, who were watching the exchange with growing alarm. "Because it seems to me she's just been cast aside. Rejected. Left with nowhere to go and no one to protect her while she learns to control what's awakening inside her." The glow around Luna's hands pulsed brighter, and she felt something wild stirring in her chest. Not the animal hunger of her wolf, but something older. Deeper. Magic that hummed with power she'd never imagined. "I offer sanctuary," Kai said formally, his voice carrying across the silent clearing. "In my territory, under my protection, until the lady learns to master her gifts." "Absolutely not." Her father's rejection was immediate and final. "The choice isn't yours to make." Kai's eyes found Luna's again. "She's 18. An adult by pack law. And she's been rejected by her mate, which means she's free to seek protection wherever she chooses." Luna felt the weight of every stare, heard the whispers starting at the edges of the crowd. Some were shocked, others calculating. A few sounded almost hopeful. As if they were seeing her clearly for the first time. But it was Sarah's voice that cut through the chaos. "Luna, you don't have to decide tonight. You're hurt, and you're not thinking clearly." Actually, Kai's voice was gentle but implacable. "She does. The magic is unstable. Dangerous when it first awakens. She needs guidance from someone who understands it, and soon." "And you understand it?" Luna found her voice at last. "My grandmother was the last alpha to successfully bond with a Luna who carried the old magic. I know the signs, the stages, the dangers." His expression grew serious. "Without proper guidance, the power will consume her. Or worse, it will attract things that hunt such magic." A collective shudder ran through the gathering. Every wolf knew the stories of the shadow creatures that hunted magical bloodlines, drawn by power like sharks to blood. "What do you want in return?" Luna's father demanded. "You don't offer sanctuary out of kindness." Kai was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes unreadable. "I want what every alpha wants. Security for my pack. Strength to protect what's mine." He paused. "Your daughter's magic, properly trained, could ensure that both our packs survive what's coming." "What's coming?" Luna asked, though part of her already knew. The dreams hadn't just been of ancient ceremonies. They'd been warnings. Darkness gathering at the edges of pack territory. Things that moved through the forest with hungry eyes and silver claws. The shadow hunters have returned, Kai said simply. They've been testing our borders for months, growing bolder. They know the old magic is stirring again. Luna felt the blood drain from her face. Shadow hunters were nightmare stories told to young pups. Ancient enemies of all werewolf kind, creatures that fed on magical bloodlines and left nothing but empty husks behind. You're trying to frighten her, Elena protested, but her voice shook. I'm trying to save her. Kai's attention returned to Luna. The choice is yours. Stay here, untrained and vulnerable, while your power grows beyond your control. Or come with me and learn to harness what you've inherited. The glow around Luna's hands pulsed again, and she felt something shift deep in her chest. The broken mate bond was still agony, still a raw wound that might never fully heal. But underneath the pain, something new was stirring. Something that whispered of power and possibilities she'd never imagined. If I come with you, she said slowly, what guarantee do I have that you won't simply use me for your own ends? None. His honesty was brutal and somehow reassuring. But consider the alternative. You can stay here, rejected and humiliated, while your sister takes the position that should have been yours. You can watch Marcus lead your pack while treating you as an outcast. And you can hope that your untrained magic doesn't tear you apart from the inside. The crowd murmured uneasily. Luna could feel their attention like a physical weight, could sense the shift in pack dynamics already beginning. Some would always see her as the alpha's daughter, but others would remember this night. Would remember that she'd been found wanting by her destined mate. Or, Kai continued, you can come with me. Learn to control your power. Discover what it truly means to carry the bloodline of the first Luna. And when you're ready, if you're ready, you can choose your own path forward. Luna, no. Her mother pushed through the crowd, tears streaming down her face. Please, sweetheart. Don't do this. Don't go with him. The pain in her mother's voice nearly broke Luna's resolve. But then she caught sight of Marcus and Elena, standing together like they belonged there. Like they'd always belonged together. Elena was wearing the silver circlet that should have been placed on Luna's head tonight, the mark of a future Luna. Her sister had taken everything. Her mate, her position, her future. All that was left was the magic humming in her veins and the choice before her. How long? Luna asked Kai. If I come with you, how long would the training take? That depends on you. The strength of your bloodline, your willingness to learn, your natural ability. He paused. Months, at minimum. Perhaps longer. And after that? After that, you'll be powerful enough to make your own choices. To forge your own path. To become the kind of Luna that legends are made of. The word sent a shiver through her that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with possibility. For the first time since she'd walked in on Marcus and Elena, Luna felt something other than pain. She felt potential. I need to think, she said, but even as she spoke the words, she knew she'd already decided. Of course. Kai inclined his head formally. I'll wait at the border until dawn. If you choose to come, bring only what you need. The Shadow Pack will provide everything else. And if she doesn't come, her father asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Then I wish her luck controlling the magic on her own. Kai's expression grew grim. And I hope your territory is better defended than it appears, because the shadow hunters will come for her either way. With that ominous pronouncement, he melted back into the forest as silently as he'd appeared, leaving only the lingering scent of pine and storms. The clearing erupted in chaos. Voices raised in argument, in fear, in speculation. But Luna barely heard them. The magic was still pulsing in her hands, stronger now, and she could feel it calling to something beyond the treeline. Something that waited in the shadows with patient, ancient hunger. She had until dawn to decide. But deep in her heart, she already knew what choice she would make. The old Luna, the one who had planned to be Marcus's mate and lead the Crescent Pack into the future, was gone forever, shattered along with the broken bond. What rose in her place was something else entirely, Something that glowed with silver light and dreamed of power beyond imagining. Something that was finally ready to claim its true inheritance. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 3. 3 weeks in Shadow Pack territory, and Luna was beginning to understand why her father had always spoken of them with grudging respect tinged with fear. The Shadow Pack didn't just live differently, they lived dangerously, walking the knife's edge between civilization and the wild magic that pulsed through their lands like a heartbeat. Focus, Kai's voice cut through her wandering thoughts. Feel the magic, don't fight it. Luna gritted her teeth and tried again, extending her senses toward the young pack member standing 20 feet away. Thomas was new, barely 19, and Kai had asked her to practice reading his emotional state. It should have been simple. Emotions were the easiest things to sense once the magic awakened. But Thomas was nervous about being her test subject, and his anxiety was creating a chaotic jumble that made her head pound. I can't, she started, but the words died as something shifted in her perception. Suddenly, she could feel everything. Not just Thomas's nervousness, but the lie underneath it. He wasn't anxious about the training exercise. He was terrified of her. More than that, he was hiding something that made his guilt burn like acid in her magical senses. He's lying, she said quietly, her eyes still closed. He's not nervous. He's scared. And he's done something he doesn't want anyone to know about. Thomas made a strangled sound, and Luna opened her eyes to find him backing away, his face white with shock. How did you? I never, he stammered. What did you do, Thomas? Kai's voice was deceptively calm, but Luna could feel the dangerous edge underneath. Could feel it because her magic was still extended, still reading the emotions of everyone within range. Including Kai. And what she sensed from him made her breath catch. Fury, carefully controlled. Protectiveness that felt like a steel wall. And underneath it all, something darker. Something that whispered of violence barely held in check. Thomas glanced around wildly, as if looking for escape. I didn't mean any harm. My cousin works for the Crescent Pack. He asked me to keep an eye on her. Report back if she learned anything important. The temperature in the clearing seemed to drop 10 degrees. Luna felt Kai's wolf stir, felt the predator in him rise to the surface with lethal intent. You've been spying on her. Not a question. A statement of fact that carried the weight of a death sentence. Kai. Luna spoke before she fully realized she intended to. Don't. He turned to her, and she saw the wolf in his eyes, golden and feral and ready to tear Thomas apart. He betrayed pack law. Betrayed the sanctuary I offered you. I know. Luna could feel Thomas's terror now, could taste his regret and desperate wish that he'd never agreed to his cousin's request. But killing him won't solve anything. It will just start a war we're not ready for. There's already a war coming, Kai growled, but she sensed his wolf retreating slightly. The question is whether we meet it with strength or with traitors in our ranks. Then let's make sure we meet it with strength. Luna stepped closer to Thomas, and her magic pulsed outward like a physical force. The young wolf dropped to his knees with a pained gasp. Tell me everything. Every conversation with your cousin, every piece of information you passed along, every plan they're making. Tell me, and maybe you get to live. The words came from some deeper part of her, some ancient authority that her magic recognized even if her conscious mind didn't. Thomas began talking immediately, the words spilling out of him like water from a broken dam. Marcus has been planning to come here, he gasped. He says the rejection was a mistake, that he wants Luna back. He's bringing warriors, not for a fight, he says, just for protection. But my cousin thinks it's really because he's scared of what she might become. Luna felt Kai's attention sharpen. When? Today. Maybe tomorrow. They were waiting for the full moon to give them strength. Thomas was shaking now, his fear a tangible thing in the air. And there's something else. Something about Luna's mother. Marcus has been asking questions, digging into old pack records. He found something that made him really angry. What kind of something? Luna's voice was deadly quiet. I don't know. My cousin wouldn't tell me. Just said that if it got out, it would destroy the alliance between our packs forever. Luna exchanged a look with Kai. In the weeks she'd been here, they'd grown closer than she'd expected, not romantically, despite the pull she felt toward him, but as partners in her magical training. She was learning to read his expressions, his moods, the way his power moved through the pack bonds. Right now, he looked like a man who'd just had his worst suspicions confirmed. Thomas, Kai's voice was conversational now, which somehow made it more threatening. You're going to return to your cousin and tell him that Luna's training is progressing slowly. That she's homesick and confused, and her magic is barely manifesting. Can you do that? Thomas nodded frantically. Good. Because if I discover you've told him anything else, anything true, I will hunt you down and make your death last for days. Kai smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression Luna had ever seen. Now get out of my sight. Thomas scrambled to his feet and ran, disappearing into the forest like his tail was on fire. Well, Luna said when they were alone. That was educational. Your magic is growing stronger. Kai's attention turned to her, and she felt that familiar flutter in her chest that had nothing to do with magic and everything to do with the way he looked at her. Reading lies is advanced work. You shouldn't be able to do it yet. Should I be worried? You should be careful. Power like yours. He trailed off, running a hand through his dark hair. It attracts attention. The kind we can't afford right now. They walked back toward the pack house in comfortable silence, but Luna could feel the tension radiating from him. Something about Thomas's information had disturbed Kai more than he was letting on. What did my mother have to do with anything? She asked finally. She died when I was 3. A rogue attack, my father said. Kai was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was carefully neutral. Your mother was a remarkable woman. You knew her? I met her once. At a territorial summit when I was barely old enough to attend. He paused at the edge of the clearing where the pack house stood, its stone walls glowing in the afternoon sunlight. She was powerful. Not just politically, but magically. Your father never mentioned that? Luna shook her head. He barely talks about her at all. Says it's too painful. Perhaps it is. Kai's expression was unreadable. Or perhaps there are things about her death that he doesn't want you to know. Before Luna could ask what he meant, the sound of approaching footsteps made them both turn. Sarah emerged from the forest, her face flushed with exertion and worry. Sarah? Luna rushed to her friend's side. What are you doing here? How did you even find? I followed your scent trail. Sarah was breathing hard, as if she'd run the entire way. Luna, you have to come home. Now. What's wrong? Marcus is gathering warriors. He's planning to come here tomorrow at dawn, and he's not taking no for an answer. Sarah's eyes flicked nervously to Kai. He's convinced that the Shadow Pack has brainwashed you somehow. Made you think you have magic when you don't. Luna felt her power pulse in response to the insult, silver light flickering around her fingers. He's wrong. I know that. I can see it. Sarah stared at Luna's glowing hands with a mixture of awe and fear. But Marcus can't. Or won't. He's telling everyone that Kai is using some kind of dark magic to control you, to make you believe you're special so he can use you against the Crescent Pack. That's ridiculous, Luna snapped, but even as she said it, she felt a flicker of doubt. Was it ridiculous? Kai had been nothing but helpful in her training, but she still knew so little about his true motives. About why he'd really offered her sanctuary. Is it? Sarah's voice was gentle but insistent. Luna, think about it. 3 weeks ago, you didn't have any magic at all. Now you're glowing like a silver moon and reading people's thoughts. Doesn't that seem fast? Luna looked at Kai, trying to read his expression. But for the first time since she'd known him, his face was completely closed off. No emotion, no tells, nothing her magic could grasp onto. Kai, she said quietly. Is she right? Are you influencing me somehow? The silence stretched between them like a chasm. When Kai finally spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. Magic doesn't work that way, Luna. I can't create power where none exists. I can't make you into something you're not. But you could make me believe I'm stronger than I am, Luna said, the doubt growing stronger. You could make me think I'm sensing lies when I'm really just picking up on cues you want me to see. Could I? Kai's eyes flashed with something that might have been hurt. Then test it. Use your magic on me right now. See if you can read my intentions. Luna extended her senses toward him, but it was like hitting a stone wall. Whatever Kai was feeling, whatever he was thinking, it was completely hidden from her magical perception. I can't, she admitted. You're blocked somehow. Because I've had decades to learn how to shield myself, Kai said patiently. It's not because I'm manipulating you. It's because I'm protecting myself from you. From me? Luna felt stung. Why would you need protection from me? Kai was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes unreadable. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. Because your magic doesn't just read lies and emotions, Luna. It influences them. Changes them. And the closer someone gets to you, the more dangerous that becomes. The words hit her like a physical blow. What are you saying? I'm saying that your magic is designed to break bonds. Mate bonds, pack bonds, family bonds. It's why Marcus rejected you. Some part of him sensed what you could do and ran from it. It's why Thomas was so terrified when you questioned him. And it's why I have to keep my shields up around you, no matter how much I might want to lower them. Luna staggered backward, Sarah's steadying hand on her arm the only thing keeping her upright. You're saying I'm dangerous? That I'm some kind of weapon? I'm saying you're powerful, Kai corrected gently. More powerful than anyone imagined. The magic of the first Luna wasn't just about leadership or healing. It was about control. About breaking the bonds that held others and forging new ones in their place. That's horrible, Luna whispered. It's necessary, Kai said firmly. Do you think the original Luna united the packs through gentle persuasion? Through pretty speeches and good intentions? No. She broke the old loyalties that kept the packs at war and created new bonds that brought peace. Sarah made a small sound of distress. Luna, if that's true, if you really can break mate bonds, then every mated pair in both packs will see me as a threat, Luna finished. Every wolf with a family, with loyalties, with connections they want to protect. Yes. Kai's honesty was brutal. Which is why you need to learn control. Why you need to understand what you're capable of before you accidentally tear apart everything you care about. Luna sank down onto a fallen log, her head spinning. The magic that had felt like such a gift, such a source of newfound strength, suddenly felt like a curse. How many people had she influenced without meaning to? How many bonds had she already weakened or destroyed? The shadow hunters, she said suddenly. They're not just drawn to magical bloodlines. They're drawn to magic like mine specifically, aren't they? Kai nodded grimly. Bond breakers are their favorite prey. Nothing creates more chaos, more fear, more desperation than someone who can tear apart the connections that hold a pack together. So I'm not just dangerous to my enemies, Luna said, the pieces falling into place with horrible clarity. I'm dangerous to everyone. Everyone I care about, everyone I want to protect. Luna. Kai moved closer, his voice gentle. That's why I'm training you. Why you need to stay here and learn control before you. Before I what? Marcus's voice cut through the clearing like a blade. Luna's head snapped up to see him emerging from the tree-line with a dozen warriors at his back. He looked older than she remembered, harder, with new lines around his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights and difficult decisions. But it was the way he looked at her that made her heart clench. Not with love or longing, but with fear barely disguised as determination. Marcus. Luna stood slowly, her magic beginning to pulse in response to the threat. You're early. And you're exactly where I thought you'd be. His attention shifted to Kai with undisguised hostility. Under the influence of a manipulator who's convinced you that you're something you're not. I'm not under anyone's influence, Luna said, but even as she spoke the words, she wondered if they were true. How could she know, when her magic was so new, so unpredictable? Aren't you? Marcus stepped closer, and Luna caught the scent that had once meant everything to her. Now it just made her stomach turn. 3 weeks ago, you were ready to be my mate. Ready to lead the Crescent Pack by my side. Now you're here, playing with shadow magic and claiming powers that don't exist. They do exist, Sarah said firmly, stepping up beside Luna. I've seen them. You've seen tricks, Marcus countered. Illusions designed to make her feel special. To make her believe she doesn't need her pack, her family, her real destiny. Luna felt her magic surge in response to the casual dismissal, felt the urge to prove him wrong by reaching out and shattering whatever bond he'd formed with Elena. The impulse was so strong, so visceral, that it scared her. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe she was being manipulated, turned into something destructive and dangerous. Maybe the real Luna, the one who had dreamed of leading the Crescent Pack, of making her father proud, was still buried somewhere inside, crying out to come home. I'll make you a deal, Marcus said, his voice taking on the reasonable tone that had once made her trust him completely. Come back with me. Let our pack healers examine you, make sure this magic is real and not some kind of shadow pack trickery. If it turns out you really do have power, I'll personally apologize for doubting you. And if it turns out I don't? Luna asked, though part of her already knew the answer. Then you come home where you belong, Marcus said simply. You take your rightful place as my mate, and we pretend this never happened. The offer hung in the air like a lifeline. Luna could go back to everything she'd known, everything that had been safe and familiar and planned out for her entire life. She could return to being the Luna who'd never questioned her place, never wondered what she was capable of, never felt the dangerous thrill of magic running through her veins. All she had to do was give up the power that was growing stronger every day. Give up the training that made her feel alive in ways she'd never imagined. Give up the connection to something ancient and wild and completely her own. Give up Kai. The thought hit her like a physical blow. When had he become so important to her? When had the pull she felt toward him become something more than magical recognition? I need time to think, she said finally. No, Marcus's voice hardened. You've had 3 weeks to think. Time to choose, Luna. Your real family, or the wolves who are using you for their own ends. Luna looked around the clearing, at Marcus and his warriors, tense and ready for battle, at Sarah, torn between loyalty and fear, at Kai, whose expression had gone carefully blank again. But it was the memory of Thomas's terror that decided her. The way he'd crumbled under the weight of her magic, spilling secrets like blood from an open wound. The casual ease with which she'd considered breaking Marcus's bond with Elena, just to prove a point. Maybe she was dangerous. Maybe she did need to go home and find out what was real and what was manipulation. But as she opened her mouth to agree, Kai spoke one word that changed everything. Murdered. Luna's blood turned to ice. What? Your mother wasn't killed by rogues, Kai said, his voice carrying clearly across the suddenly silent clearing. She was murdered. By someone she trusted. Someone who knew about her magic and saw it as a threat. Marcus went very still. That's impossible. The investigation was a sham, Kai finished. Because the person who killed her was the same person who led the investigation. Luna felt the world tilt beneath her feet. Who? She whispered. Kai's dark eyes met hers, and she saw pain there. Regret. And a truth that was going to shatter everything she thought she knew about her life. Your father, he said quietly. Alpha Ashworth killed your mother to keep her magic from threatening his control of the pack. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, Why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. The accusation hung in the air like a death sentence. Luna felt the world spin around her, Marcus's warriors shifting uneasily as the implications sank in. Her father, the man who had raised her, trained her, taught her everything about leadership and honor, a murderer? You're lying. The words tore from her throat like claws. My father would never. Your father, Kai said with terrible gentleness, has spent 18 years making sure you never learned what your mother really was. What you really are. Marcus stepped forward, his face twisted with fury. This is exactly the kind of poison I expected from you, Blackthorn. Lies designed to turn her against her own family. But even as Marcus spoke, Luna felt something cold unfurling in her chest. Not magic this time, memory. Fragments of conversations she'd overheard as a child, her father's face going carefully blank whenever she asked about her mother, the way certain pack members fell silent when she entered a room. Tell me, she whispered to Kai. Tell me everything. Luna, don't listen to him, Marcus pleaded. He's trying to manipulate you, make you doubt the people who actually love you. Love me? Luna laughed, and the sound was sharp enough to cut glass. You rejected me 3 weeks ago, Marcus. In front of the entire pack. Because I was too weak to be your mate. I made a mistake. No. The magic was rising in her now, silver light beginning to pulse around her hands. You made a choice. And now you want to take it back because you've realized I might actually be powerful enough to be useful. Luna could feel the bonds connecting Marcus to his warriors, could sense their loyalty to him like golden threads stretching between them. It would be so easy to sever those threads, to leave him standing alone and abandoned. The temptation was almost overwhelming. Luna. Sarah's voice cut through her violent thoughts. Please. Just, listen to what Marcus is offering. Come home and let the healers examine you. If everything Kai is saying is true, then you'll prove it. And if it's not? If it's not, then I'll know I've been played for a fool. Luna looked at Kai, searching his face for any hint of deception. But his shields were still up, his emotions locked away from her probing magic. Why should I trust you over them? Because, Kai said quietly, I'm the one who's been honest with you from the beginning. I told you my motives weren't pure. I told you I needed your power to protect my pack. I never pretended this was about anything other than survival. And them? They've told you nothing but lies for 18 years. The truth of it hit her like a physical blow. All those years of wondering why she felt different, why her dreams were filled with silver moonlight and ancient ceremonies, why her father watched her with such careful intensity. All those years of being told she was imagining things, that the magic was just stories, that she needed to focus on being a proper pack daughter. The hunter's moon rises tonight, Kai continued, his voice urgent now. It will amplify whatever power you carry. If you're going to learn the truth about what you are, about what happened to your mother, tonight is when it will come. Marcus made a sound of disgust. More manipulation. More fear tactics designed to keep her dependent on you. But Luna was no longer listening to Marcus. The mention of the hunter's moon had triggered something deep in her magical awareness, something that made her skin prickle with anticipation and dread. What happens during the hunter's moon? She asked Kai. For most wolves, nothing. But for the moon blessed. He paused, running a hand through his dark hair. The ancient magic responds to it. Becomes stronger, wilder, harder to control. Moon blessed? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. That's just a legend. Is it? Kai's attention shifted to her. Then explain what Luna did to Thomas earlier. Explain how she can sense lies, influence emotions, break bonds that should be unbreakable. Luna felt a chill run down her spine. What exactly are the moon blessed? Werewolves who carry the original magic that created our kind, Kai said carefully. They appear maybe once in a generation, always in bloodlines that trace back to the first packs. They have the power to command other wolves, to reshape pack bonds, to... He trailed off, his expression growing grim. To what? Luna pressed. To save or destroy everything we are. The words settled over the clearing like a shroud. Luna could feel the fear radiating from Marcus's warriors, could sense Sarah's growing terror, could taste the anxiety that even Kai couldn't completely hide. Destroy how? She asked, though part of her already knew the answer would be terrible. The last moon blessed was 3 centuries ago, Kai said quietly. She went mad with power and tried to remake all the packs in her own image. Broke every mate bond, severed every family tie, turned thousands of wolves into empty shells who could only obey her will. Luna's legs gave out, and she sank to the ground as the full implications hit her. And you think I could do the same thing? I think, Kai said carefully, that you have the potential for either great good or great evil. The question is which path you choose. Then the choice is simple, Marcus said, his voice hard with determination. She comes home with me, where she can be watched and controlled. Where she can't hurt anyone. Controlled? Luna's magic flared in response to the word, silver light blazing around her like cold fire. Is that what you did to my mother? Control her until she became too dangerous, then kill her? Marcus stepped back, his face pale. Your mother died fighting rogues. I was there, Luna. I saw. You saw what my father wanted you to see, Luna snarled, rising to her feet. The magic was burning through her now, wild and furious and completely beyond her control. Just like everyone else in the pack. Just like me, for 18 years. Luna, Sarah's voice was tight with fear. Your eyes. They're glowing. Luna caught sight of her reflection in a nearby stream, and her breath caught. Her eyes had turned silver, bright as moonlight, bright as the magic that was pouring out of her in waves. She could feel it touching everyone in the clearing, could sense their bonds and loyalties and deepest secrets laid bare before her power. Marcus was terrified of her, but underneath the fear was guilt. He had known. Maybe not everything, but he'd known her mother's death wasn't what it seemed. Had known and stayed silent for 18 years. Sarah's love for her was real, but it was tangled up with fear and a desperate hope that Luna would choose to be normal. Choose to be safe. The warriors were loyal to Marcus, but their bond was based on respect for his strength. If she wanted to, she could turn them against him with a thought. And Kai. Kai was a wall of shields and careful control, but she could feel the edges of something deeper. Something that made her magic sing with recognition. Make it stop, she whispered, pressing her hands to her temples. I can feel everything. Everyone. I can see all the ways I could break you apart, and I want to. God help me, part of me wants to. Luna. Kai moved closer, his voice steady and calm. Look at me. Focus on my voice. She raised her silver eyes to his, and for a moment his shields wavered. She caught a glimpse of what lay beneath, fear, yes, but also something warmer. Something that made her magic settle just slightly. You're not your ancestor, he said quietly. You're not destined to repeat her mistakes. How can you be sure? Luna's voice broke. How can anyone be sure when this power feels so hungry? Before Kai could answer, the sound of approaching footsteps made everyone turn. Elena emerged from the treeline alone, her golden hair disheveled and her dress torn. She looked like she'd been running for hours. Elena? Marcus stepped toward her, concern overriding his earlier focus. What are you doing here? Where are your guards? Dead, Elena gasped, collapsing to her knees. The shadow hunters found our camp. They're coming, Marcus. They're coming for her. Luna felt ice form in her veins. How many? A dozen, maybe more. Elena's green eyes were wide with terror. They can smell the magic on you from miles away. Father sent me ahead to warn you, to bring you home where the pack can protect you. Father sent you? Luna's magic pulsed, and she could taste the lie underneath Elena's words like poison on her tongue. Or did you come because you finally realized what he's really planning? Elena's face went white. I don't know what you mean. Don't you? Luna's power reached out, wrapping around her sister like silver chains. Tell me the truth, Elena. Tell me what father is really planning to do with my magic. I can't, Elena whimpered, but the words were already spilling out of her, pulled from her lips by Luna's inexorable will. He wants to use you to break the bonds between the other packs. Make them all swear loyalty to him instead of their own alphas. He says it's the only way to unite our kind before the shadow hunters destroy us all. Marcus made a sound of shock and betrayal. That's impossible. Alpha Ashworth would never. Wouldn't he? Luna's voice was deadly quiet. He killed his own mate to protect his power. What makes you think he wouldn't use his daughter the same way? The hunter's moon was rising now, a blood-red orb that seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. Luna could feel her magic responding to it, growing stronger and wilder with each passing moment. The silver light around her hands was spreading, crawling up her arms like living fire. We need to get you somewhere safe, Kai said urgently. Somewhere you can ride out the moon's influence without. His words were cut off by a howl that raised the hair on every wolf's neck. Not the howl of a werewolf, but something else. Something hungry and ancient and utterly without mercy. They're here, Elena whispered. The first shadow hunter emerged from the tree-lean like smoke given form. It looked almost like a wolf, but wrong in every way that mattered. Too tall, too thin, with eyes that burned like red coals and teeth that gleamed like silver knives. Behind it came others, moving with the fluid grace of predators who had never known defeat. Luna, Kai's voice was urgent. Whatever you do, don't let them touch you. Their claws can drain magic, leave you empty. But Luna barely heard him. The hunter's moon was directly overhead now, and her power was responding to its call with a ferocity that terrified her. She could feel the bonds connecting every wolf in the clearing, could sense their fears and desires and desperate will to survive. She could remake them all. Turn Marcus's warriors against him, force Elena to tell the complete truth about their father's plans, bind the shadow hunters to her will and send them back to whatever hell had spawned them. The temptation was overwhelming. Luna. Sarah's voice cut through the magical storm in her head. Please. Remember who you are. Remember that you're not your power. You're Luna Ashworth, and you're stronger than this. But was she? As the shadow hunters crept closer and the hunter's moon bathed the clearing in blood-red light, Luna wasn't sure she remembered who she was anymore. The magic was everything now, wild and hungry and demanding to be used. One of the hunters lunged at Marcus, its claws extended. Without thinking, Luna reached out with her power and seized control of the creature's mind. It stopped mid-leap, its red eyes going blank and vacant. Mine, she whispered, and the word carried such power that every wolf in the clearing dropped to their knees. Even Kai. The shadow hunter turned and attacked its own kind, tearing into them with savage efficiency. Luna watched with detached fascination as the creatures she'd feared turned on each other at her command. Luna, stop. Kai's voice was strained, as if he were fighting against invisible chains. This isn't you. This is the moon's influence, the ancient magic trying to remake you in its own image. But Luna wasn't listening anymore. She could feel her father approaching with a small army at his back, could sense his determination to use her as a weapon against anyone who opposed him. Could taste Marcus's desperate plan to somehow bind her magic and make her his compliant mate. Could smell Elena's fear and guilt and secret hope that Luna would simply disappear and make everyone's lives easier. They all wanted to use her. Control her. Turn her into something that served their purposes rather than her own. Well, she had other plans. The hunter's moon reached its zenith, and Luna Ashworth ceased to exist. What rose in her place was something older, something that remembered when wolves first learned to walk upright and speak with human tongues. Something that had been sleeping in her bloodline for generations, waiting for the right moment to wake. The moon blessed had returned. And this time, she would not be controlled. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, Why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. Luna came back to herself slowly, like surfacing from the depths of a dark ocean. The first thing she noticed was silence, an unnatural quiet that seemed to press against her eardrums. The second was the metallic taste of blood in her mouth, though she couldn't remember being injured. The third was Kai's voice, low and urgent, speaking words in a language she didn't recognize but somehow understood. Kethmori Santalath. Miradan Sol Neth. Ancient words, binding words, meant to cage wild magic and force it back into dormancy. Luna opened her eyes to find herself lying on cool stone, surrounded by carved symbols that glowed with soft blue light. She was in a cave, she realized, though she had no memory of how she'd gotten there. Kai knelt beside her, his hands pressed against the stone circle, power flowing from him in steady waves. What happened? Her voice came out as barely a whisper. Kai's shoulders sagged with relief when she spoke. You don't remember? Luna tried to recall the events after the hunter's moon reached its peak, but the memories were fragmented, dreamlike. Images flashed through her mind, shadow hunters turning on each other at her command, wolves kneeling against their will, Elena's terrified face as Luna reached into her mind and extracted secrets like pulling teeth. I lost control, she said quietly. You became what your bloodline was meant to become, Kai corrected. The question is whether you can learn to master it, or whether it will master you. Luna sat up slowly, her head spinning. The stone circle continued to glow around her, and she could feel its power pressing against her magic like a gentle but firm hand. Where are we? The sanctuary. A place my grandmother built for situations like this. Kai's expression was grim. We barely made it here before you tried to remake every wolf within a mile radius. The memory hit her like a slap, the intoxicating rush of absolute power, the certainty that she could fix everything by simply forcing everyone to obey her will. The terrifying part wasn't that she'd lost control. It was how right it had felt. Did I hurt anyone? She asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. Marcus and his warriors are alive, though thoroughly shaken. The shadow hunters. Kai paused. Let's just say they won't be troubling anyone again. Luna closed her eyes, trying to push down the sick feeling in her stomach. And Elena? Sarah? Safe. Your friend refused to leave until she was sure you were all right. Elena. Kai's voice hardened slightly. Elena had some interesting things to say once she realized the immediate danger had passed. Before Luna could ask what he meant, footsteps echoed in the cave entrance. She turned to see Elena approaching cautiously, her golden hair dulled with dirt and her face marked with exhaustion. Luna? Elena's voice was tentative, uncertain. Are you again? I'm me. Luna wasn't entirely sure that was true, but it seemed to be what Elena needed to hear. Are you all right? Elena nodded, then sank down just outside the protective circle. I need to tell you something. About Marcus. About what really happened 3 weeks ago. Luna felt her magic stir in response to the pain in her sister's voice. Elena, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Elena's green eyes were bright with unshed tears. Because you're going to hate me either way, but at least this way you'll know the truth. Kai moved to Luna's side, his presence steady and grounding. Tell her. Elena took a shaky breath. Marcus didn't reject you because he thought you were weak. He rejected you because Father ordered him to. The words hit Luna like a physical blow. What? Father knew about your magic. He's known since you were a child. Elena's voice cracked. He's been watching you, waiting for it to manifest, planning how to use it. But he needed you isolated first. Needed you to feel abandoned, desperate, willing to do anything to prove your worth. Luna stared at her sister, the pieces of a horrible puzzle clicking into place. So he arranged for Marcus to reject me. To drive me away from the pack. He threatened Marcus's family, Elena whispered. Said he'd have them all executed for treason if Marcus didn't do exactly what he was told. And then he threatened me too. Said if I didn't seduce Marcus, if I didn't make the rejection look real, he'd kill me, Luna finished flatly. Elena nodded, tears finally spilling over. I never wanted Marcus, Luna. I've been in love with David from the Red River Pack since I was 16. But father said if I didn't play my part, he'd make sure you suffered for it. So I did what he asked. I let Marcus touch me, let everyone think I'd stolen him from you. Because I thought it was the only way to keep you alive. The revelation should have brought relief, should have eased the pain of betrayal that had been eating at Luna for weeks. Instead, she felt only a hollow ache where her anger used to be. You should have told me, she said quietly. How could I? Father made it clear that if you knew the truth, if you tried to fight back before you were ready, he'd have you killed and find some other way to get what he wanted. What does he want? Luna asked, though she was beginning to suspect she already knew. Everything. Elena's voice was bitter. He wants to use your power to break every pact bond in the territory, then reform them with himself at the center. He wants to be the alpha of all alphas, with every wolf owing their loyalty directly to him. And he thinks I'll help him do that? He thinks he can force you to help him. Elena looked up at Luna with desperate eyes. He's been studying the old texts, learning about the moon blessed. He knows how to bind your power, how to channel it through his will instead of yours. All he needs is to get you back under his control. Luna felt Kai tense beside her. Binding rituals, he said grimly. I should have known he'd try that approach. Can he do it? Luna asked. Can he actually bind my power? If he has the right knowledge, the right tools. Kai trailed off, his expression troubled. Yes. He can turn you into a weapon that only responds to his commands. The thought filled Luna with such rage that the protective circle flared brighter, its blue light shifting towards silver. I won't let him. I won't be anyone's tool. That's what I was hoping you'd say, Elena said quietly. Because there's something else. Something I overheard father planning. Luna waited, though she wasn't sure she could handle any more revelations. He's not planning to wait for you to come home, Elena continued. He's gathering an army. Wolves from every pack he's made deals with over the years, plus some mercenaries who don't ask questions about what they're fighting for. He plans to attack the Shadow Pack directly, capture you, and perform the binding ritual whether you're willing or not. When? Kai's voice was deadly calm. Tomorrow night. During the new moon, when your power will be at its weakest. Luna felt the world tilt around her. He's going to start a war. Just to get his hands on me. He's going to start a war to reshape the entire werewolf world, Elena corrected. With you as his weapon and every other pack as his subjects. The protective circle pulsed around Luna as her magic responded to her emotional turmoil. She could feel Kai's power pressing against hers, steady and grounding, keeping her anchored to herself instead of letting her drift back into that terrifying state where she was more magic than person. There has to be a way to stop him, she said. There is. Kai's voice was quiet, but something in his tone made Luna look at him sharply. But you're not going to like it. Tell me. Kai was silent for a long moment, his dark eyes unreadable. The binding ritual requires a willing vessel. Someone the moon blessed trusts completely, someone they've formed a deep emotional connection with. Luna felt her heart skip a beat. You mean a mate bond? More than that. A true bond, one that goes deeper than instinct or magic. The kind of connection that transcends the typical mate system entirely. And you think we have that? Luna's voice was barely above a whisper. I think, Kai said carefully, that what's been growing between us is something neither of us expected. Something that scares me more than your magic ever could. Elena made a soft sound of understanding. You're talking about the prophecy, aren't you? The one about the great severing. Luna looked between them, confused. What prophecy? An ancient warning, Kai explained reluctantly. It says that if a moon blessed ever chooses love over duty, if they form a bond deeper than the traditional mate system, it will trigger the Great Severing. The magical foundation that creates mate bonds for all werewolves will shatter permanently. The implications hit Luna like a landslide. You're saying that if what's between us is real, then every mated pair in existence will lose their connection, Kai finished. Thousands of relationships, built on magical recognition and spiritual connection, will simply cease to exist. That's... Luna struggled to find words. That's catastrophic. Yes. Kai's voice was steady, but she could see the pain in his eyes. Which is why I've been fighting it. Why I've kept my shields up, why I've tried to maintain distance even when everything in me was screaming to get closer to you. Luna felt tears prick her eyes. So we can't be together. No matter what we feel, we can't risk destroying the foundation of werewolf society. That's what I thought, Kai said quietly. Until I realized something. Your father isn't just planning to use you as a weapon. He's planning to break the mate bond system anyway, then rebuild it with himself as the central controlling force. Elena nodded grimly. He wants every wolf to owe their loyalty to him directly. No mate bonds, no pack bonds, nothing that could challenge his authority. So the choice isn't between preserving the current system and destroying it, Luna said slowly. It's between letting my father control how it's destroyed, or, what? Destroying it ourselves? Or transforming it, Kai said. The prophecy doesn't just talk about severing. It talks about what comes after. A new kind of connection, one based on choice rather than magical compulsion. Love that's freely given rather than mystically ordained. Luna stared at him, her heart racing. You're talking about remaking the entire werewolf world. I'm talking about giving werewolves the freedom to choose their own bonds instead of being slaves to magical destiny. Kai's voice was fierce with conviction. I'm talking about a future where love matters more than instinct, where relationships are built on compatibility and genuine connection rather than biological imperatives. And if we're wrong? Luna asked. If triggering the Great Severing doesn't lead to something better, but just leaves everyone alone and disconnected forever? Then we'll have to live with the consequences, Kai admitted. But Luna, look at what the current system has already given you. A mate who rejected you on your father's orders. A sister who had to betray you to save your life. A father who murdered your mother to protect his own power. Luna thought of Marcus, who had never really chosen her but had been assigned to her by biological imperative. Of Elena, trapped in a relationship she didn't want to protect the people she loved. Of all the mated pairs she'd known who stayed together not because they were happy, but because breaking a mate bond was considered impossible. The current system is already broken, she said quietly. Yes. Kai reached out slowly, his hands stopping just short of touching hers. The question is whether we have the courage to build something better in its place. Luna looked at his outstretched hand, then at Elena, who was watching them with a mixture of fear and hope. If I do this, Luna said carefully, if we do this, there's no going back. Every werewolf alive will be affected. Every werewolf alive is already going to be affected when your father gets his hands on you, Elena pointed out. At least this way, they'll have a chance at real freedom. Luna closed her eyes, trying to imagine a world where werewolves chose their own partners based on love rather than magical compulsion. Where pack bonds were built on loyalty and shared values rather than mystical imperatives. Where someone like her father couldn't use the mate bond system as a tool for control and manipulation. It was terrifying. It was revolutionary. It was exactly what the world needed. Luna opened her eyes and placed her hand in Kai's. The moment their skin touched, she felt it, a connection deeper than mate bonds, stronger than magic, more fundamental than instinct. It was choice made manifest, love freely given and freely received. It was the beginning of the end of everything werewolves had ever known. And somewhere in the distance, like the first rumble of an approaching storm, Luna could feel the Great Severing beginning to wake. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also, to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.